everybody. Welcome to Dive Deep. I'm Shelby Cornett, and I'm the ministry assistant here at Cambridge City Christian Church. And this is Danny, our pastor.
Hey, how's it going, Shelby?
Good.
Good. You ready
Great.
to
I'm ready.
talk the Word of God and
I'm ready.
the sermon?
Yep. And how
Yep.
I beat you at cornhole on
And
Sunday.
you did beat me at cornhole on Sunday. Yeah, I'm still trying to get over it. It's been, 3 days now?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just had a bad day, I guess, which
Yeah.
actually with cornhole when I play every day is a bad day because I'm not any good at it. But anyway, I don't know. Am I like, since I'm not any good at cornhole, does that like disqualify me from being a Hoosier?
It might.
Yeah. Okay.
It is kind of an Indiana thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did they play that in Florida when you were growing
Well-
up in Florida?
Well, it was 18 years ago when I lived in Florida, so
Yeah.
I don't remember it being around 18 years ago. Maybe it was, but where I was at, it wasn't. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long
Interesting.
time ago.
I didn't say it.
I know, you did it.
I was
but,
being nice.
But I don't ever remember playing it down there. I don't even remember when it started. It was probably 10 or 15 years ago
Yeah,
that I
I don't
started
know.
seeing it, something like that.
I don't know,
Yeah.
It's fun, though.
Yeah, it's fun to play. It's an easy game.
Yeah.
Anybody can play it.
That's true.
So, yeah.
All right. Sermon stuff.
Yeah.
So this was, it was back to church Sunday, so we did fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the last week of What on Earth Am I Here For?
Series, yeah.
Yep, and it was called to be sent.
Mm-hmm. Called to be sent.
I didn't take a lot of notes, like a lot of extra stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like it all could be wrapped up pretty easily.
Okay.
Briefly.
How would you wrap it up?
People will not know about Jesus unless they are told.
Okay. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
And loving God, loving others more and more.
Right. Okay.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
Well, we're done with the podcast. Right?
Yeah.
It's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that does kind of sum it up pretty well. But I do think as easy as it is, it's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so Sunday I talked a little bit, I kind of did an overview, a review, whatever you want to call it, of the whole series. And if you remember, we talked over the weeks about things like, let me see here, we are called to be loved. Well, who doesn't want to be loved?
Right.
I mean, that one's pretty easy, right? Yeah, we love the idea that God loves us. Then there's the call to belong. Well, everybody wants to belong. And then there's the call to become. That one might be a little bit harder. Some people want to be more like Jesus and some don't. But nonetheless, I think it's something we would aspire to.
Right.
I don't think you could go up to anybody, even those that don't want to put in the work to grow, and say that they would tell you it's a bad thing to do it.
Right.
I mean, everybody would say it's a good thing
Want
to
to become
be
more like Jesus.
Yeah. And then to bless others or to serve others. I mean, again, it's kind of the same argument. Like even though maybe we're not all good at doing that, we all think that it's something we should do.
Yeah.
It's good to bless and serve other people. So that brings us to this one when we're being called to share the gospel. And this is the one that I think most Christians would say, yes, I agree with. But maybe we run into a little bit more of a headwind, if that's what you want to call it,
It's hard.
for the general world. Because generally speaking, people don't share your beliefs, don't push them down my throat. Those are just some of the ideas that are out there. And so we do find ourselves in a very challenging environment to be able to share our faith. But there it is right there in black and white in the scripture over and over again. We're called to share Jesus.
Yeah.
Because it's good news. It's the most important thing that a person could ever do. So, or the most important person they could ever know is Jesus. So it is a calling that we have even when it's difficult. So
I think you have to have the mindset you're saving them forever. You
Yeah.
want them to be saved
Right.
forever.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
just, hey, listen to this right now.
Yeah. It's not. I think the hard thing for people, and that includes probably all of us to some degree, is we have to get over the temporary potential of rejection
Mm-hmm.
and keep more in mind the long-term eternal state
Right.
of a person. But that's a hard one because we look around and we see this temporary state,
Mm-hmm.
and so we feel like there's more to lose in
Right.
this, when in reality it's not. This is little compared to eternity. So, it's it's a
Yeah.
it's a tricky one.
It's a hard one.
It's a
yeah.
tricky one, and especially in a culture right now where you kind of are looked down on if you share your faith
Yeah.
and whatnot. So, yeah.
You're gonna make somebody mad, or yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's why, as Christ followers, we do have to be careful. Not careful with the message itself, but in how we present it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think that sometimes we can be a little abrasive
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we share it. I've had that happen.
It's easy to be that way when you're passionate about how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of methods that people use to share the good news. And I'm not usually in the business of downing certain methods, but I do think that there are certain methods that are more effective than others.
Mm-hmm.
And we really do need to be students of our culture
Yeah.
and understand where people are at right now, so that we can share the gospel in a way that can connect within that culture.
Right.
Well, let me give you an example. Like right now, we see social media
Mm-hmm.
growing. 15 years ago didn't even exist.
Right.
15, 20 years ago. That is now a new field where you can share the gospel. That wasn't there 20 years ago. So you have to adapt in how you share the good news.
Right.
And the church, I think, kind of has a little bit of a checkered history, in the sense that sometimes we're a little bit slow on making these changes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, things change.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that and change as we share the gospel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Another thing I had written was,
Mm-hmm.
you just asked about, like, what's your favorite Bible story?
Yeah,
So I thought it would be cool. Just
yeah,
mine's Moses too.
Moses. Okay. So why is Moses?
I think
your-
it's because he was persistent. Like, he didn't give up when things, like, when God told him to do things over and over and over again.
yeah,
That would be hard.
yeah.
Because
Well-
I think at the beginning it'd be like, oh, okay, I can. But
Well, he had a really up and down life.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off being put in a basket
mm-hmm.
because all the Egyptians were trying to kill the Israelite firstborn and whatnot. And then he's raised in the palace of Pharaoh, so then he has all this power and wealth and all that. Well, then he realizes who he is, and he kills a worker, so he's a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He runs off so he doesn't get arrested or whatever. And he lives out in the middle of nowhere for decades upon decades.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. So it's just this story of ups and downs. He comes back to
Life
Egypt.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. So do you want me to share mine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I would say through the years it's kind of changed. I think it has something to do with, like, your life experiences. Like you it depends on where you're at in life.
Yeah.
I would say when I was younger, it was David and Goliath. That was one of my favorites. I would say right now it's probably Paul, the story of Paul, just how he fought against the Christian faith and then ended up being confronted by Jesus and coming to faith and then dying for that.
So he
faith.
overcame a rough
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, and then dying for that faith that he once fought against.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge turnaround.
Yeah.
And I think that-that's what we want for everybody, is we want everybody to be touched by God and their lives to be turned around and changed. So I think that story of Paul is, and I think as I grow deeper in understanding of the word, my appreciation for Paul also grows. I know I'm preparing for our next sermon series in Mark, and I was looking at some of the background of Mark himself, who wrote the book, and it's kind of an interesting one. We'll talk about it here in a couple of weeks. But one thing I did see in the story, though, was Paul
Yeah.
and his influence in Mark's life. and how they kind of had ups and downs with each other too.
Mhm.
And it was just, well, I don't want to give it away because
Yeah.
we'll probably talk about it in a couple weeks, but it's Paul's a really powerful character.
It makes me think. Paul makes me think of the I Am Second videos.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
yeah.
How people
Mm-hmm.
there'll be somebody like who was in prison or was an addict
Yeah.
and then overcoming it.
That'd be an interesting I Am Second video. See Paul sitting on the couch, right? Telling the story.
like the ultimate I Am
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. That would be an amazing story.
That would be cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's a good movie idea.
There you go.
I'm not gonna make a movie.
Shelby, the movie director,
Yeah.
producer.
No way. The last thing I had was the how can we live Jesus' mission, and we talked about imprisoned people and 5
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
ways people can be imprisoned.
yeah.
And you asked if we could think of somebody in each category, and it was like immediately I thought of somebody in
Really?
each.
Okay, that's good.
Like there are people struggling with things
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, and sometimes people are struggling with some of these things at the same time,
Yeah.
multiple of these things. If for those you watching, you may not know a little bit there. So, I mean, in Luke 4, Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come." And what I kind of pointed out is within that, really, that's a mission statement. That's like Jesus, what he came to do. There's 5 groups of people that are there that are being oppressed in some way. So there's those who are financially imprisoned, physically imprisoned, medically imprisoned, emotionally imprisoned, and spiritually imprisoned.
Yeah.
And we can all think of people that are going through that, including ourselves. We've all been there too. And that Jesus came to release us from that. So Jesus is a freedom fighter, and we're called to be freedom fighters too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can share with them and help them through their situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I think in our culture with the affluence that we have and stuff, we don't, well, I don't know. I think it just kind of depends. I mean, right now in our culture, we do hear a lot of people talking about being pressed down or imprisoned isn't the right word. I'm trying to think of the right word, but people feel like they're afflicted by somebody or something. But I think in a lot of ways, though, in our everyday lives, we don't really look at that way. Like we just don't pay a lot of attention to what's going on in people's lives. But the fact is that everybody is either imprisoned or potentially going to be imprisoned by these things.
You know what I just thought of?
What's that?
Kind of weird. If it's weird, it's okay to make fun of me for it. It's kind of like we are God's first responders. It's like God is the dispatcher telling us where to go and what to do. And we just got to go do it to help people.
Sure. Yeah, I could see some truth there. I mean,
does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I would say that the problem I've always run into with analogies, though, is at some point, I think I've shared this before, at some point analogies fall apart.
Yeah.
I mean, the only problem I see with an analogy like that is, we're the ones going to help the person when in reality it's Christ.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we're his hands and feet, but it's actually the work of Christ that changes the person. So, but no, I think it makes sense to some level.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does call us to go and share the word. Absolutely. Yeah.
That was all my notes.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything more that I was going to touch on, with everything. It was a really good series.
Yeah, it was.
It's good to come back to it every few years or so, and that's what we did. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this week.
Yes, so this week is
Be the Church Sunday.
Be the Church Sunday. So we're going to go out in the community and serve.
There's no regular worship.
No regular worship, but we will have a breakfast here at the church at 9 a.m. And then we'll have a little bit of communion time at the very end of that breakfast time near 10 o'clock. And then we'll kind of disperse from there and go do our projects and then go home after that. So yeah, we'd love to have everybody come.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Cool.
And then the week after that, we start the Mark series. Yeah, and I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be a big one.
It's a big one. Yeah, it's going to go pretty much all year. We'll take a short break at Christmas, but And what I mean short, it's only like a couple of week break
Yeah.
up at Christmas, and then we'll be at it again until early June. So
Awesome.
it's going to be, we're going to go through every verse.
Mhm.
I think this is the first time I've done a book this big. I've done some other books that are smaller every verse, but a book this big where we're going to go through every verse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting to do
Yeah.
that. See what God does through all that in our lives. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So next week we'll.
Maybe we could just talk a little bit about what happened
Yeah.
on Be the Church and, what
You
God's
should
doing.
still come to Be the Church, but we'll give
Yeah.
an overview.
Well, yeah. Maybe if you come, we'll talk about you
Yeah.
and what you did. Yeah.
If you do a good job.
Oh, everybody will do a good job.
Yeah. All
Boy,
right.
you're a Pharisee. You're judging. You're going to
Yeah.
judge the work of
It was
everybody.
no, that was what do you call it? Initiative?
Oh, okay.
Right?
You're trying to like encourage them
Yes.
to do a good job. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Work hard. You get a prize.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We'll go with that.
Yep. All right. So we'll see you next week, and we'll talk about Be the Church.